to be very apparent tonight. Our love for one another, the unity that we have, and the fact that we love the Lord God above favoritism or anything else. Let's say together out loud the Lord's Prayer. Can we do that? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Now, we have one? Okay, we have our flag. We had an issue in the beginning. We did not have a flag. So we have a flag. Terry McCoskey, are you here? Representative McCoskey, would you lead us in a pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We've never been in this room before. We're used to having a flag easily available. Anyway, now the appointment of temporary officers. I'd like to appoint Chris Hurd. She is our current recording secretary. Temporary parliamentarians, Grant Galassa here, and J.D. Glasser. J.D., you here? Temporary Sergeant of Arms, Kurt Hooper, Gary Race, Brian Drzuski, Patrick Skalzik. The tellers, Dawn Beatty, Sandy Wheeler, Patty Camarada, and Melissa Palis. Okay, so now we have the reading of the call to convention.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. I'm trying to get a clarification. Did you agree to have a joint convention with Mr. Castiglia?
No, I did not.
Too much confusion from Castiglia's group is establishment.
Use the microphone.
Just
Check. Hello. Not.
Thank you. Point of order, Mr. Chair. Just trying to get a clarification. Did you agree to have a joint convention with Mr. Castiglia?
No, I did not. Michonne Maddock, our co-chair of State Party, called me a few weeks back. She asked me to conduct a joint convention for the sake of unity, and I declined. I said that the court had made certain decisions. Our state party, the delegates across the state of Michigan, by 88% declared the same thing, and that, please. I told her that she was there. She was up on the elevated stage. She saw that convention. I said that we are the official Macomb County Republican Party, and that as long as other groups break the law, that we would not have a joint convention. Then Stu Foster called me a week later asking the same thing, and I gave him the same answer. My good friend Brian Pennebecker tried to get me to do it, and I wouldn't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republican Party is a rule of law party. That's all there is to it. And so that's why I never did it. Now, this call to convention went out, I believe yesterday, could be wrong, very recently.
It was yesterday.
A call to convention by law has to go to every legally elected delegate. This did not. It went to new delegates in order to deceive them on who is the actual party. Now, plus it's supposed to be a 30-day notice. It implies in here that I did make an agreement, and I never did. I just want that clear. Thank you.
Thank you. I make motion to waive the reading of the call to convention.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, next. Did somebody say point of order?
Yes, point of order, Mr. Chairman, please. If you could recognize me for a moment. My name is Jason Brackett. For those who don't know me, I am a duly elected, proud one. And there's a lot of points, and I'll try to be quick. But I came here from work on a mission, and I think we said, with all of us being here tonight, I know we're here for a purpose, but those might know me from the Trump Unity Bridge.
What is the point of order?
Well, there's a lot of points. I'm sorry.
Point of order.
I think this is important because I'm a new delegate and I've been on the sidelines here, and what I'm seeing here, this division is it's appalling. You know, and that's all I'm saying. You know, but you know, I want it to be known because as a new delegate.
Just a moment, please. Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you're out of order to bring up your point at this time. When you call a point of order, it's one point, and it has to be a procedural violation, and you have to cite what the procedural violation is. You're just standing up and speaking your opinion, and that's not appropriate to do that at this time. No.
Okay.
It's not a reflection on your opinion.
Well, I apologize.
It's just not at this time.
Okay. You know when that
Please
is
step back.
just being a new delegate?
I understand.
When,
You'll have an opportunity.
is it the agenda or?
Once the agenda is adopted, the chair will decide if there is an ability for delegates to come forward and speak. But you're not making a motion, and there's nothing to debate, and there isn't a place to just speak your opinion.
Okay. All right. I apologize, guys.
That's all right.
Have a good night. Okay.
The next item is the Credentials Committee report. If the Credentials Committee is ready, they stop, as you know, just very briefly. So we may have to wait for that. We don't have anything to do karaoke with or anything. Huh?
Good time to let somebody speak. Be a good time to let somebody speak.
We have 12 people they have to do yet, so we do have a little bit of time.
I could tell the joke. Got a couple.
Who's having a good singing voice?
Tiny bubbles, I know tiny bubbles.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stand at recess until we get the report. The credentials report will tell us how many people are here that are voters. Yeah, you cannot leave the room, I'm sorry. And again, if you are guests, a lady guest, the restroom's over there. If you are a delegate, it's over here.
He doesn't want talking in the phone. Is that what it was? I knew it was
I didn't receive anything. I didn't receive anything. He said
God bless America. Come on, that's what we're all about. God bless America, land of my Lord, and beside her, and guide her with the light from above, from the ocean to the prairie, to the mountains, right where and bright stars through the perilous fight. Over the ramparts we watch, were so gallantly streamed. And the rocket's red glare, the bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. That star-spangled banner wave for the land of the free and the home of the
Come on, stand up and do it.
I'm gonna walk
Yeah, we got to watch for it. I'm drinking. I wish I diet back water. No, usually I do Pepsi Zero because there's no caffeine, but this is caffeine. Looks like you. Yeah, you need to make it. Yeah, this is.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order. With all due respect, sir, you stated that we would take a recess for 5 minutes. It's been way more than that. And we really need, we're 50 minutes behind. We really need to move forward. Because either explain to us the delay or allow us to have another.
We go Democrats County.
Actually, I haven't.
Okay, again, let me try to explain. The call to convention said 7 o'clock. All right? Now, I've received a lot of reports from people saying that they have been called with a different time. Not the 7 o'clock, but the time
Please respect the chair, please. You guys trying to communicate. Let's just do it.
Okay, now, since we heard that, you might not believe this, but I believe that every legally elected delegate has a right to vote at this convention. Right? No, if I may say. So we decided, with the advice of the parliamentarian, we decided that we would go 15 minutes later, and that we would, how do I put it, at 7:15, who's ever in line up there, okay, because we're down here, we're separated. We're down here in the way, but let me explain. So anyway, we said we'll start at 7:15, not start, but at 7:15, who's ever in line, they will get credentialed, but when they are credentialed, we'll start. No. And that's what, listen, please, yeah. So.
You're trying to get more votes.
Yours too! Every elected delegate has a right to vote, and we want them all voting. Now listen. So anyway, please let me finish. So, I announced that fact, and we've been waiting for that 15. Anybody in line after that are going to continue to be credentialed. Right. Nobody up there. We have it here, but I'd like to finish explaining it right now.
Thank you very much for explaining that. I also want to point out the fact that you started the meeting saying that Republicans are the party of the rule of law. And I'm just saying, you said, there's a rule. Let's stick to the rules. This is the convention. Please, let's move it along. With all due respect, I don't mean it.
Now, anyone coming in up there at this point on will be credentialed also, but the meeting is underway, and yes, may miss a vote or two, but that's the way it is. Okay. So now we have the credentials committee report. And by the way, to have so the recess is legitimate, right? It's legitimate. So we're calling the meeting back to order. And now we have our Credentials Committee report.
Mr. Chairman, the Credential Committee is reporting that we have 377 credential precinct delegates in the hall.
Thank you. Okay, so now I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the report.
Motion to accept the report.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have the agenda itself. The agenda itself.
People coming late and then...
Is there a motion to accept the agenda? The agenda. That's not on the agenda. Okay. A motion for the rules. Okay, now, but the rules then have not been announced, so I need to have the chairman come up. Okay. Will the rules chairman please come up?
When did we vote on a rules
To read the
chairman?
rule- no.
What rules?
You gotta read the rules. Your rules are in the back of your agenda sheet you received when you signed in. All right?
Got him. I didn't respect my business. Me neither.
Okay. Okay, so would anyone like to read the rules?
Hello, everybody. Here be the rules. 1. Michigan election law, MCL 168, supersedes any other set of party bylaws or rules. For any other point of procedure, Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised 12th edition, shall govern the proceedings at this convention. 2. The Credentials Committee record a record of registered delegates present with proper credentials shall serve as the roll call for this convention. 3. The nominating committee will present a list of candidates or a slate of candidates for the consideration of the body. The slate must be voted up or down. If not approved, it must go back to the nominating committee where it will be altered and resubmitted. 4. Any person not a delegate to this convention who makes or supports a motion or attempts to cast any vote shall be immediately evicted from the premises. 5. The duties of presiding officer of the presiding officer of an assembly include protecting the assembly from obviously dilatory motions by refusing to recognize them. And finally, 6. There shall be no new business conducted at this convention other than the election of 32 members of the Macomb County Republican Executive Board. Thank you.
Motion to accept the rules.
Doesn't this prevent us from electing permanent chairs based on that rule?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? The microphone's right here.
Get him, boy.
I would like to just ask a clarifying question. So rule number 6 states that there shall be no new business conducted other than the election of 32 members. Does that rule not also prevent us from electing a committee chair?
Oh, that's not what the convention's all about. The new committee will
Maybe
be
the permanent chair, my mistake.
Well, no, the permanent chair will be elected pretty soon here. That's just talking about the convention itself. The purpose of this convention is to elect 32 people to the Macomb County Republican Party Executive Board, where they will join 32 statutory members who are members by law. They are the people that were on the November election. They're also people who are already, like the treasurer and clerk. Candace, I know, is here. I saw her. Okay, so they are statutory members. They are people that are by law on the committee. So the whole idea is you have half delegates, half statutory. Now when they meet, they will elect officers for the next 2 years. But tonight we will have an election very soon here for permanent chair. Okay. For this election only. For this convention only. The office of permanent chair ends when we adjourn, period.
Point of order. Is it fine that people were getting notarized and signed into delegates upstairs, elevated? Because I have that on video. I was told that they were doing that upstairs.
Listen, this convention has the right to fill empty precincts. It's all about representation.
Before we get to that on the agenda.
That is later in the agenda. That is after the permanent chair is elected.
Told you they were stalling for something.
Does not say that.
Item 13 on the agenda is appointment of delegate vacancies according to Michigan law MCL 168622. Now, listen, you people were elected to be delegates, and the purpose of a delegate is to represent the Republican voters in your precinct. We have precincts that are unrepresented, at a convention, they can be filled, but only by the delegates of the convention. Those precincts have a right to representation. You're representing precincts.
We were elected.
We were elected.
Not appointed.
That's why you were stalling.
All right. My name is Diddy Glosser. I'm the temporary parliamentarian.
Yes, spoke to you this morning.
So, the way that, okay, if a precinct has vacancies, they can be filled. They can't vote, but you guys all get to vote to fill those vacancies, and you'll just take a vote to do that. Those upstairs, they're registering to prove that they are eligible and legal to be able to be voted on as precinct delegates. That's all that's happening. They're not voting. They have no rights until all of the delegates here who already have the right to vote them on. But they can get ready to be voted on, and that's all that's happening. Okay? So the only people that can vote right now are the delegates that are on that credentials report that you just accepted. No one else can vote. Now, if another already legitimate delegate shows up late, they can be adopted into this voting body, and if we had taken a vote, they'll miss it, but they do get to vote later. Once you do take a vote to elevate precinct delegate vacancies, they will become a delegate, and then they can vote on anything that comes after that. But they can't vote until you elect them. You guys will get to elect them, right?
So they resigned him and not given anything else.
No, they're just validating that they're eligible to fill a vacancy. That's it.
All of you that ran, you filled out an affidavit, didn't you? And it had to be notarized. So we can't just elect anybody to them spots. They have to fill out the same form you did. Okay. But they're not voting. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, please add one more attendee to the list, so the total is 378.
No, you can't.
It's already been accepted.
No, it's already been accepted.
They coming late.
Doesn't matter.
No, wait, the second now, so somebody come up and explain your problem. She just announced another, what, the one delegate or something showed up? So you're saying that delegate should not be able to vote? Is that what you're saying?
My name is Linda Torpin from Harrison Township, and the point is that they've already accepted the credentials report at 377. Are you going to have another vote to accept a credentials report of 378? And are you going to continue to do that as each person trickles in?
So what we will do is...
Last time in the April convention...
No, she wasn't recognized. You didn't answer the first question. Out of order.
Point of order.
No, out of order.
Do you have a motion or something?
No. Answer the question. Answer the question.
She didn't make a motion, she made a comment, and I wanted to do that comment.
Out of order.
We're not really debating over this.
Yes, we are.
Linda's wondering if every time somebody walks in the door if we're going to change a vote, and we're not. As long as everybody walking the door is a delegate and they can vote, that's all I worry about. Okay, if you want to wait and do it every so often, I don't care. All right, so anyway.
I'm leaving my job at work.
Right now, officially, it's 377.
Can I get a clarification? You're going to elevate precinct delegates.
At some point, we will.
Okay, they're not allowed to vote, right?
Unless, no, wait a minute, unless the convention votes not to. We are going to fill slots.
Okay. What I would like to know is, are they going to be allowed to vote on the election of the executive committee?
The answer is yes. Yep, it is before that vote.
Only duly elected on August 2nd.
I thought it was only people that were duly elected.
On August
The
2nd.
convention has the right to elect them.
Read your letter,
You
Mark.
can vote no and not elect them. You can leave those precincts unrepresented if you wish. You guys make the choice. I don't make the choice. You guys make the choice.
We don't want them to vote for the 32 members, we gotta vote them down.
Point of order.
Okay.
The member that walked in late is a duly elected delegate. Thank you.
Okay, now, it's not a debate.
Mark, if I may read to you your call to convention, it says, oh, I said point of order. Duly
We waived the
elected
call, didn't we?
precinct delegates elected at the August 2nd, 2022 election may vote. Not everybody you bring in, only those elected on August 2nd, 2022.
Who you people are. But you have the right to fill empty precincts. You are the delegates of the Republican Party, okay? You can elect them to fill empty positions. Okay, so now, the agenda. Is there a motion to accept the agenda? Wait a minute now. Sorry, all this controversy. We made a motion and seconded. There was no comments about the rules. All in favor of the rules, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Nay. Division.
Division.
Okay, we're going to have a standing count. All right? A lot of chairmen would have said that pass. But I'm sorry, I'm one. If there's controversy, I feel we should vote. Every vote should count. All right? I know that's funny to you.
Be respectful, you guys, please. Well, adults, let's be respectful. You know? We said our prayer in the beginning. Can we respect each other?
I want you to remember something, too. Just a minute, please. Just a minute, please. Just a minute, please. I'm sorry. I forgot to announce, let's all kind of try to behave. We are on live television. Epic Times is broadcasting live this convention. Macomb County is an important county. The state knows what's going on here. They don't care what's going on. So we are on. What is your point of order?
My point of order is we are here to follow the rules of the convention. Anybody who does not follow the rules of convention should be voted out of the convention. Any unruly delegate by Robert rules should be voted out by this body to get out of here. Any unruly delegate. So I want that to be clear. Everybody have the right to vote here. Anybody who is unruly delegate should be kicked out.
That cannot be done.
Bye-bye.
Well, yes, but the convention itself has to vote on that. All right? Let's say somebody was really unruly. Having an opinion and being loud is not unruly. We have a right of freedom of speech. Okay. But you can't eject someone unless you decide to do it. So, let's say we have to divide the room.
You don't have room.
All those in favor of accepting the rules, please rise and hold up your credentials. Remain standing. The tellers, you have to count. Now, now please, the tellers are going to count. You have to stand and hold your credentials until they count you. Okay?
Yeah, let's have the no stand. Let's have the no stand. Let's have the no stand.
You know you got Oh, you think?
Yes. They'll tell you when you can sit down, okay?
I'm not going to vote. I'm going to abstain.
So I've been told by our parliamentarians we have to count both. I was thinking of having you guys sit down and count the no's because it's very obvious which is going, but they say we count both.
These guys are going to count the whole room that's standing up saying yes. Everyone's standing up saying yes. No one's opposing this, but they're going to count them anyway. How much marijuana are these people smoking? I don't know. I've been watching basketball. You are.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tellers are done. We have 333 ayes. All those opposed, please stand, holding up your credentials. We're supposed to count. So. All those opposed? Okay, please stay standing until they're done counting. The motion carries as there are 7 no votes. Okay, next. So we will now we're going to elect the permanent chair of the convention.
Nominate Eric Castiglia.
I second. Wait a minute, hold it. A motion to adopt the agenda.
Where's that on the agenda? In your hand.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the agenda. Anyone have any comments, discussion? All in favor of adopting the agenda, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Now we will elect the permanent chair of the convention that ends at adjournment.
I nominate
Mark Fortin for permanent chair.
Okay. There's a nomination for Mark Fortin in a second. Are there other nominations?
Yes. I nominate Eric Castiglia.
Is there a second? Okay, there's a nomination for Eric Castiglia. Is there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close nominations? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. There are 2 candidates, Eric Castiglia and Mark Fortin. Now, according to the agenda, I'll read it. We will now elect a permanent chair according to the method described in Michigan election law MCL 168.622. The secretary will read the names of the registered delegates. When your name is read, please rise and state your choice. The secretary will repeat your choice and record it. The nominee receiving the most votes will be the permanent chair of this convention.
Do we get to give our opinions? We don't get to speak?
Point of clarification. Can we have someone up there as well to just review what's going on?
We have tellers.
What are you afraid of? Okay, we're doing the back here. Eric, we're going to
just start waiting. Part of the reason I'm using these questions are being so loud is just because I don't get
Hey,
He's counting, you're counting to see who he gets the rate amount.
Point of order. I make a motion. Can we have discussion regarding our desire for a permanent chair?
What's her name?
Yeah. And everybody says,
All right, here we go. Sal Agnusa. Agusa.
oh, too late.
Mike
Can't hear
Aiello. Oh, sorry. Sal voted for Eric. Mike Aiello. Mike Aiello voted for Eric Castiglia. Catherine Anderson. Mark Fortin. Grant Anderson.
Mark Fortin.
Joe Aragona.
Eric Castiglia.
That was Aragona was for Castiglia.
Yeah.
Danielle Arndt.
Eric.
Eric. Jonathan Arndt. Eric Castiglia. Kelly Austin. Mark Fortin. Judy Avalon. Mark Fortin. Ronald Babin. Eric. Stephen Bahura.
It's Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Frederick Bain. Mark Fortin. Selena Banca. Jason Barnes. That was Mark Fortin. And Jason Barnes, Mark Fortin. Paul Barrett.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Jesus Basilio. Eric. Dawn Beatty. Judy Bernard. Mark Fortin. Judy Bernard. Eric. Mario Bernard. Fortin. Jerry Bilello. Mark Fortin. Brian Bishop. Mark Fortin. Marcia Bodery. Mark Fortin. Julie Boisler. Mark Fortin. David Bodie. David Bode, B-O-H-D-E. David Bode. Robert Brandenburg. Castiglia. James Brasher.
Mark Fortin.
Karen Brasher. Mark Fortin. Karen Brasher. Mark Fortin. Keith Brennan.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Sherry Bretz. Eric. Jason Bright.
I'm torn, but the lesser of two evils, I would say incumbent Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Patricia Camerata. Mark Fortin. Maria Carl. Mark Fortin. Melissa Crone.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Eric Castiglia. Oh, sorry. Melissa called for Mark Fortin. I mean, sorry, Eric. Sorry. Eric. Okay. Okay, Eric Castiglia.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric Castiglia. Marlene Santano. Mark Fortin. Barb Serta. Mark. Greg Childs.
Eric Castiglia.
Potato. Okay.
No, it's a G in there.
Kimberly Clark. Mark Fortin. Russ Cleary.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Timothy Klein.
Eric.
Eric. Sheila Cahoon.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Barbara Cole.
Eric.
Eric. Mark Conway.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Jill Crandall. Oh, sorry. Crandall, sorry. Mark Fortin. Elizabeth Carroll.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. John Curl.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Flora Cusimano. Mark Fortin. Victoria Chapsky.
Eric.
Eric. Brad DeLoreal.
Close it up. Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Thank you. Karen Delicata. Mark Fortin. Joseph DeShriver.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. John DeCarl.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Yep. Just so you know, we've got two sets of sheets, 9th and 10th here. So if your name wasn't called, you'll be up next. Patricia DiPuccio. Eric. Patricia DiVirgilio. Mark Fortin. Darlene Detzel.
Mark Fortin.
Laura Drouillard. Mark Fortin. Duke Frank. Duke Frank, the third. Mark Fortin. Doug Early.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Jasmine Early. Mark Fortin. Julie Elkins.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Ryan Ellis.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Max Felsman.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Michelle Fitzpatrick.
Mark Fortin.
Mark. Jeff Ford. Mark Fortin. Elizabeth Forlini. Eric. Rachel Fortin.
Mark Fortin.
Michelle Franzen. Mark Fortin. William Franzen.
Point of order.
No, I have another sheet. I've got another sheet.
There's 2 districts.
2 districts, sorry. Okay, so that was Cliff Frost. Cliff Frost. Not yet. Cliff Frost. Mark Fortin. Sharon Frost. Leo Gary. Eric. Mike Garvonic.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Gus Ganem. Gus Ganem. Eric. Fred Gibson. Mark. Fred Gibson Jr. Mark Fortin. Danielle Gilbert. John Gilbert. Mark Fortin. Carrie Gill. Mark Fortin. Christopher Galanders. Mark Fortin. Chris Glodich. Mark Fortin. Grant Galassa. Mark Fortin. Roger Goodrich. Mark Fortin. Joseph Gorek.
Eric.
Eric. Brian Gorney.
Eric.
Eric. Jason Griswold. Eric. Sylvia Grove.
Eric Castilla.
Eric. Ken Gulak. Mark Fortin. Maria Gulak. Elizabeth Hanna. I said Mark Fortin. Elizabeth Hanna. Mark Fortin. Sandra Hartunian.
Eric.
Eric. Susan Heffling. Mark Fortin. Mark Hemmerling. Mark Fortin. Dana Henry. Eric. Sandra Hilkert. Mark Fortin. Bill Hollister. Eric. Kurt Hooper. Mark Fortin. Paul Horning. Mark Fortin. Eric Rymack.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. John Hubel.
Eric.
Eric. Kathy Humphreys. Mark Fortin. David Humphreys. Fortin. Rob Huth.
Eric.
Eric. Paul Jersey.
Eric.
Eric. Russ Johns.
Eric.
Eric. Kevin Johns.
Eric.
Eric. Janet Johnson. Mark Fortin. Angelic Johnson. Mark Fortin. Benjamin Joseph. Eric. Eddie Kabaczynski.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. John Karbuski.
Eric Castilla.
Eric. Peter Kitzik.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Mark Horoy. Mark Fortin. Joseph Kozak. Lisa Carpenter LaBelle.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. David Langer.
Mark Fortin.
G.J. LaRouche.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Michelle Leak. That says no there. Michelle Leak. There's a little. Okay. Lori Lankovich.
Mark Fortin.
Larry Lilly.
Eric.
Eric. Robert Little.
Eric Castilla.
Roger Lonsway.
Eric.
Kenneth Loria.
Mark.
Mark. Angela Lucala. Mark. Jeffrey Lupo.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Gary Lusk. Gary Lusk. Lisa Mankiewicz. April Marlowe. Mark Fortin. Jack Marlowe. Beverly Marshall. Mark Fortin. Barbara Martin. Mark Fortin. Jared Maynard.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Claudia McCracken.
Eric Castilla.
Eric. Michael McGrady. Mark Fortin. Kyle McKee. Eric. Anna McCoskey. Mark Fortin. Terrence McCoskey. Mark Fortin. Kim Meltzer.
Castilla.
Eric. Peter Meyer.
Eric.
Eric. Jason Myers. Mark Fortin. Lorraine Middleton. Mark Fortin. James Miller.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Candace Miller.
Eric.
Eric. Sue Milligan. Mark Fortin. Carol Mills. Eric. Thomas Mitchell.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Lev Montgomery. Castillo. Richard Moore.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Giovanni Nudrea. Mark Fortin. Janice Neron.
Eric.
Eric. Ken Nelson.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Anna Neiman. Anna Neiman. Mark.
She says Mark.
Thank you. Mark Fortin. Orville Neiman. Mark Fortin. Fred Needstead.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Julie Newalt.
Eric.
Eric, sorry, did I say it right? Sorry. Yeah, Eric. James Note.
Eric.
Eric. Sandra Nuss. Mark. Kurt O'Keefe.
Eric Castilia.
Eric. Timothy O'Neill.
Sticking with the winner, Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Noel O'Neill. Mark Fortin. Judy Palladino. Judy Palladino. Abstain, thank you. Brian Panabecker.
Eric Castilia.
Eric. Richard Paraventi.
Eric.
Eric. Rich Pavlich.
Abstain.
Abstain. Gina Pellioni. Mark Fortin. Carolyn Perkins. Carolyn Perkins. Mark. Donald Perkins Jr. Mark Fortin. Patricia Perichetti.
Eric.
Eric. Connie Flom. Mark Fortin. David Flom.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Ben Pietro.
Eddie.
Eric. Patricia Prill.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Ron Plezek.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Robert Percival.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Arthur Room. Eric. Carol Reed.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Mark Ringel.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Bill Rode.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Sue Redkowski.
Eric.
Eric. Jackie Ryan.
I abstain due to the inaccuracies in the rules and agenda.
Abstain. Matthew Ryan. Matthew Ryan. Abstain. Diane Saber. Abstain. Joseph Salvaggio.
Eric.
Eric. Kyle Shemek.
I proudly vote for Eric.
Eric. Was that an Eric vote?
Yeah.
Proudly voted.
Okay, you know what? It's hard to hear up here, so if you could keep it to a dull roar.
I vote for Eric.
Thank you.
So please speak up for us so she can hear.
Janice Schnabel. Mark Fortin. Kathy Schneider.
Eric.
Eric. Paul Schorsch.
Mark.
Mark. Fred Schuschler. Mark. Rayanne Schweschinger.
Eric.
Eric. Richard Schaefer.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Larry Charlo.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Linda Charlo.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Julie Shanka.
Eric Casilia.
Eric. Donna Shurish. Mark Fortin. Judith Sinclair.
Mark.
Mark. Ronald Singer. Eric. Peter Skirpin.
Mark Fort.
Patrick Skozik.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Maria Slowicki. Mark. Ellen Smith. Mark. Moria Smith.
Eric.
Eric. Paul Smith.
Eric.
Kevin Smith.
Eric.
Oh, sorry. Paul Smith said you heard.
Eric.
Okay, did I say it? Okay. Kevin Smith.
Eric.
Eric. Timothy Smith.
Eric.
Eric. Oh, sorry. Michelle Smith.
Eric.
Eric. Deborah Sosha. Mark. Mary Saggi.
Mary Kay Sogi. Eric.
Eric. Thank you. Dean Sondy.
Mark Foreman.
Mark Fortin. Justice Fires. Mark Fortin. Stephen Springborn. Mark Fortin. Cecil St. Pierre.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Mark Stadwick.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Sean Stanek.
Eric.
Eric. Susan Steyer.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Linda Stout.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. John Strutch.
True Patriot, Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Louise Strongs. Mark Fortin. Justin Somerville. Eric. William Sussex.
Eric.
Eric. Joda Sutton.
Eric.
Eric. Stephen Sweetek.
Eric Castiglia.
Stanley Sejud. Stanley is S-Y-J-U-D. Stanley Sejud. Okay. Joseph Sagon.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Andrew Yomack.
Spell it.
S-Z-C-Z-O-R-N-A-K. M-A-K. Okay. Shorten. No, there's no R's in it, so no. S-Z-C-Z-O. Oh, yeah, there's an R. No, there's no R. M-A-K.
Shomack, he said Eric.
Andrew Shomack.
Okay. Tom Shinsky.
Eric.
Eric. Loretta Thielen. Oh, Loretta Thielen. Loretta. She left. Nancy Tizio.
I'm not conflicted. Eric Castiglia.
No, we have to. Sam Tola.
Very rude.
Just say your name, please.
Everybody else is saying your name. Everyone else is doing it.
Sam Tola.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Joe Torrey.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Linda Torp.
Eric Castiglia.
Kevin.
Please and gentlemen, would you just say the name, please?
Kevin Trippy. Eric. Anthony Trucano. Eric. Karen Tucker.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Benjamin Turner. Eric. Lauren Turner. Eric. Pamela Ulrich.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Barb Van Sickle. Eric. Don Van Sickle. Eric. Laura Velasco.
Mark Fortin.
Mark. Gino Vitale. Mark Fortin. Vincent Welch. Mark. Sandy Wheeler.
Mark.
Mark. Bethany Wheeler.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Katrina Wetzel.
Mark.
Mark. Brenda White. Brendan White.
Brendan White, Mark Fortin.
Mark. Catherine White. Mark Fortin. Derek Wilzinski.
Eric.
Eric. Linda Wilson. Mark. Roy Wilson. Mark. Keith Wingfield.
Mark Fortin.
Mark. Jimmy Woodard.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Doug Wozniak.
Eric.
Eric. Pamela Wozniak. Eric. Ron Ruth. Mark. Bill Urovic. Mark Fortin. Gary Zarin.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Rola Zarif.
Eric.
Eric. Denise Zaja. Mark. Tony Zalanka.
Eric.
John Zupanik.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Okay, that's the first. Halfway there. Okay, this one's shorter, so the ninth. Okay. I'm done with District 10. District 9's much shorter. I can't hear you. Okay. Nicole Adams. Gwendolyn Allen. Mark Fortin. Tricia Barbier. Mark Fortin. Danny Bartolotta. Mark Fortin. Kristen Battaglia. Mark Fortin. Sharon Bauman. Mark Fortin. Christine Bazarewski.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Lorraine Beeman.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Beverly Bergman. Mark Fortin. Cindy Berry.
Eric.
Eric. Joe Biondo. Eric. Scott Bowman. Mark Fortin. Aaron Boyer. Mark Fortin. Don Brown. Eric. Lisa Brown. Eric. Sarah Carr. Mark. Kara Carroll. Mark Fortin. Frank Cherney. Mark Fortin. Renee Kalika. Eric. Frank Cusimano. Eric. Ralph DeBucci Jr. Eric. Dan Ditkowski. Mark Fortin. Gina Dinverno. Mark Fortin. Paul Driscoll. Mark Fortin. Brian Drzwicki. Mark Fortin. Kenneth Durham. Mark Fortin. Kathy Elliott. Eric. I think it's
Eric.
Okay, Eric. Valdemar Escamilla. Eric. Jason Finch. Mark Fortin. Mark Fortin. Mark Fortin. Carol Garcia. Julie Garon. Lisa Geisler. Mark.
Eric.
Hang on. I said Julie Garon. She said Mark Fortin. Okay, then I'm down to Lisa Geisler. Eric. Ken Goike.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Joseph Guerra. Mark Fortin. John Hafner. Eric. Anthony Halfman. Mark Fortin. David Hogan. Eric. Sorry. Doug Horton. Mark Horton. Deanna Humphrey. Abstain. Abstain. Marshall Iannucci. Mark Fortin. Marlene Jacobson. Mark Fortin. Christina Jankauskas. Mark Fortin. Carrie Jantz. Eric. Catherine Jill. Mark Fortin. Monica Job. Mark Fortin. Patricia Johnson. Eric. Nancy Johnson. Mark Fortin. Brianna Cargill. Eric. Leonard Kondrak. Mark Fortin. Marge Kondrak. Mark Fortin. Phil Kraft. Eric. Lenore Couric. Mark Fortin. Melissa Landenberger. Eric. Samantha Latowski. Eric. Mary Lawton. Mark Fortin. Mary Lee. Eric. Ken Licari.
I stand with Eric Castiglia.
Michael Maljak. Mark.
Put up another sign.
Jennifer Manor.
Eric.
Matthew Manor. Eric. Tony Mark. Thank you. Alyssa Marine. Mark Fortin. Lisa Olson Marshke. Eric. Anthony Mastronardi. Mark Fortin. Mike McLean. Cheryl Melling. Mark Fortin. Bridget Mesner. Mark Fortin. Cheryl Miles. Mark Fortin. Louis Miles III. Mark Fortin. Deborah Miller. Eric. Deborah Miller. Stephanie Middlestead. Eric. Mike Moran. Mark. Dwayne Neiman. Mark. Beth Oakley. Eric. Cindy Olson. Mark Fortin. Vincent Olshow. Eric. Two more pages. One and a half. John Parkinson. Mark Fortin. Catherine Patterson. Eric. Melissa Pellis. Mark Fortin. Michelle Powles. Eric. Gary Race.
I stand with Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Catherine Race. Mark Fortin. Valerie Alamon Ramey. Mark Fortin. Greg Rendazzo. Mark Fortin. Gary Richards. Mark Fortin. Jamie Rowe. Eric. Michael Ruchinsky. Mark Fortin. Andrew Rudich. Mark Fortin. David Rudich. Mark Fortin. Jacob Rupert. Mark Fortin. Chris Shornack.
Eric Castiglia.
Eric. Elizabeth Seguin. Mark Fortin. Ann Shar. Mark Fortin. Jason Chauvin. Eric. Cecilia Simonson. Mark Fortin. M.H. Smitty. Eric. Thomas Smith.
Eric Castilla.
Eric. Michael Smith.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Tom Sokol.
Eric Castilla.
Eric. Carrie Sparks. Mark Fortin. TJ Tomlinson.
Mark Fortin.
Mark Fortin. Eric Tuckfield.
Aaron Tuckfield says Castilla.
Castilla. Okay, a little bit more. Norman Urban. Eric. Susan Vandenberg.
Mark Fortin.
Mark. Dominic Venditelli. Abstain. Karen Vermeulen. Mark Fortin. Amy Vitale. Mark. Carl Wainrich. Eric. Sandra Widmer.
Mark Fortin.
Mark. Jeanette Williamson. Mark. Jeff Yarrick. Eric. Linda Yunan. Mark. Christina Zetti. Settle, sorry. Fortin. Okay, that's all that they're going to tell you. Sorry about the names.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. There are a few people in the back who say that their names were not called, but they are here.
If your name has not been called and you're a delegate, please come up to the microphone.
I'd rather be in court than
Counting those people here. They didn't call their names. I know, but
as a new delegate, I had only ever received stuff from MIT so anybody in my position only knows what Fortin's been saying at the meetings since August. And so, unfortunately, Karen, I've had conversations with both sides. That's the only reason why I'm on this side. Is because I've had 2 hours of conversation. It is. I told you. I've noticed that.
you gotta go the wheel.
Remember when we should have opened it
Jim North. Jim North. How do you vote? Eric. Can we please be quiet? You're what ninth or 10th?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be on here
Right.
I got a bad written in name. Call order. Mike.
Come to the mic, please.
Where's the microphone?
I seen a name badge with a name crossed out and a different name written in.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're starting a rumor.
Well, I just saw it, so I don't know. That's not right.
While I walked down that hallway, I heard a bunch of you already talking about it.
Is it Jim North?
He's right back here. I'll show you.
Jim North.
I didn't see him. He's right here.
Is his name Jim North?
Yeah, she said Jim.
And he's got his wife's name, I think, on his card. It's right back here.
If you'd like to come verify, we already verified him here on the election website. He is a duly elected delegate. It's Jim North.
Okay.
You already verified it?
Yep.
So I didn't know that. So nobody told me.
That's
so,
all right.
But
That's
we
all
should
right.
always check stuff like that.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes, I'll come up.
That's why I'm saying. I've been told that this thing was I'll walk you down so many things.
You gotta stay away from the rumor mill.
That's the problem, right? If you're saying that about somebody, it's usually you. That's the problem.
Well, that's a good point, AJ. Line being, everybody's I know. Yeah. I actually appreciate it. So I won't persuade you to I truly believe
I heard the truth. And the reason why is because the meetings, last one, I would have just a minute to tell everybody my conversation for my
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Call to order, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost done with this.
If you don't support winning candidates, people are going to change. Your job is to change. That's the number one job.
Wendy Jo Waters. Eric.
At least I don't this group is going to leave and they get no say
Joe Sabatini. Eric.
Sabatini.
Thank you. Okay. I hear no.
But it's also
I
nominate them?
Michael McDonald here.
No, it's not part of
Is Michael McDonald here? He checked in? He has not voted. Mike?
His name is Paul.
I'm hearing you went home. Okay. Okay, can I have some quiet if you want to hear the results? The results are 216 for Mark Fortin, 147 for Eric Castillo.
Thank you. And just to be accurate, there were 7 abstentions. Okay?
That's incorrect. That's incorrect.
Call to order, ladies and gentlemen.
Could you just go?
Now the election of the permanent secretary of the convention. Is there any nominations?
Get out of my face.
Is there a second? Darlene, please, let's call this to order. Darlene, Nancy, Darlene, let's call this to order, please.
Sit down, Darlene. Sit down, Nancy.
Come on. Next step, is there any other nomination for permanent secretary of this convention?
Those totals are incorrect.
Have a little respect. You came here to unite. You guys lost, so I'm sorry.
Enough. Call to order. Enough. Don't care. Enough. All right. Is there another nomination? Chris Hurd has been nominated for permanent secretary of the convention. Is there another nomination? Is there a motion to close nominations?
You're right. I can get around it. They're moving stuff up.
And second. All in favor of Chris Hurd? Hold it. All in favor of closing nominations? Opposed? Okay. We're closed nominations. All in favor of Chris Hurd as permanent chair? No, permanent secretary. Any opposed?
Permanent chair, yeah.
Anybody else? Motion carries. Now the chair appoints the permanent officers. I appoint the current parliamentarians, the current sergeant at arms, the current tellers, and now we need the oath of office for permanent officers. I don't know if we have a judge in the house. Terry, would you give the oath to the? Give Terry the microphone, please.
Probably nothing of value.
Yep, the parliamentarians. This is the oath of office for the parliamentarians, sergeant at arms, tellers. All the officers, please rise.
I'm going to give you guys your folks, please. How's that? All right. Folks, please repeat after me. I, state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Okay, now the next thing on the agenda is the filling of the vacancies. Now, we have a list of people. We could spend all night doing them one at a time, but we could name them all off to the precincts, and if there's a motion to accept them, we can make them all delegates. Okay? Elizabeth? Okay, we have
point of order to the motion.
Thank you, Chairman. I would like to know approximately how many are there before we go ahead and pass this resolution.
We're going to go over how many
Vacancies are there, and then people are filling.
Okay, we have, how many the total? 37 precincts.
How many vacancies, he said?
All of them were filled out the precinct that we all did when we ran, and they're all notarized. Okay, so there's two people who are no longer precinct delegates, and we have to announce them. District 10, Precinct 27, Sterling Heights, Nora Zabowski, resigned. Bruce Township, Congressional District 9, Bruce Township, Precinct 4, William Thompson. He moved to a different area, and as you know, then you lose your precinct delegate position when you move out of the precinct. Now, so the names, I will go over them and read them. So this is all of them. Forgive me if I tear your name up much. I really try not to. Pergetta Kramer, okay, Sterling Heights, Precinct 31. Sandra A. Raymond, Warren, Michigan, Precinct 32. Marcia McKelvey, Wills, Mount Clemens, Precinct 2. Nicholas James Olivero, Sterling Heights, Precinct 10. James Michael Dabrowski, Richmond. I know there's no precinct on here. We gotta fix that. There's James Michael. Can they do it in front of the notary that signed it? No? Okay, can't fix it. Okay. Dennis Trzaskowski. Dennis Trzaskowski, Romeo, Precinct 4. Denise, I'm sorry. Kelly Smither, Shelby Township, District 12. Jacob Marshall, St. Clair Shores, and again, no precinct. Good, sorry. Mark Camarada, Mark Sebastian Camarada, Shelby Township, Precinct 32. Derek Miller, Armada, Precinct 1. Kathy Ann Marsh, Harrison Township, Precinct 10. Anne Marie Smith, Macomb Township, Precinct 31. Daniel Robert Acacia, ACCIA, Sterling Heights, Precinct 23. Sorry, folks. Anyway, Denise, we'll do better. Same thing. ACCIA, Sterling Heights, Precinct 23. Pamela Susan Pfeiffer, Precinct 13 of Sterling Heights. Susan Renee Stadwick, Precinct 17 of Roseville. Robert Paul Pension forgive me, Pinsonnean.
But I don't see why we should be
Roseville, precinct 5. Bradley David Voss, precinct 17 of Clinton Township. Matthew Corey Williams, Clinton Township 30.
I'll find you. I still represent.
Raymond Tyler Render, East Point, precinct 8.
I believe I still represent.
Another blank precinct, sorry. Mary K. Brunn, I believe it is, Roseville, precinct 1. Nathaniel James Bean, St. Clair Shores, precinct 5. Another blank one. I guess that's it. So, is there a motion? There's more? Oh, they already have. Okay, these are people that ran, and they already filled them out with the county clerk. Okay. So we have Diane Hayes, Clinton Township, precinct 11, and Sheila Goldstein, precinct 23 at Clinton Township. And then we have Pamela Pfeiffer of Sterling Heights, precinct 13. And then we have Sandy Orlando, precinct 22, Shelby Township. And then we have Denise Drzuski, and it is precinct 4 of Bruce. You had a point of order, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First, congratulations on your election. Second, you mentioned 3 prospective delegates who had no precincts. Can you clarify for us if we are voting on those 3?
No, not.
There's 4. So any that you call no precincts will not be voted to be able to.
Absolutely, because we can't turn them into the clerk.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Point of information, Chair. Are there multiple candidates in the same precinct?
Well, there can't be. Well, there are precincts, as you know, with 2 or 3. But there has to be an opening for these people.
For instance, if there was a Shelby Township number 20, whatever, if there are 2 candidates for the same precinct, does that occur? Is there an occurrence of 2 candidates?
No.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Point of information.
Yes, ma'am. Just one second. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned Sterling Heights. Did you say precinct 10? Because that's filled. That's my precinct unless someone stepped down. They have 3. There's 3 already filled. There's 3 precinct delegates in that precinct.
We'll check just a second. Elizabeth, do you have the sheets? That position is not open. Ladies and gentlemen, a name? Huh? Oh no, thank you. We mentioned James Olivero, Sterling Heights, Precinct 10. The precinct is filled, so we're removing that one. It'll go right along with the one with no precinct numbers. Okay, now.
A point of order.